Hello everybody, this is ESL English Practice with Traveller's Guide. English as a second language practice for anyone who is studying an English proficiency test such as IELTS or TOEFL or Pearson English. Press the thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more, leave a comment below and turn on the subtitles. In this video, we're going to be looking at English words that come from the French language. So this is a vocabulary lesson and also looking at pronunciation. Now the words that we take from French might sound a little bit different when we use them in English, but it's interesting to know their origin, and this explains a bit about why they're pronounced the way they are. 29% of English words come directly from French words. That means they have the same spelling and the same meaning. We will probably pronounce them a little bit differently though than they do in France, but other than that they're exactly the same. French is often studied in British schools, and this is one thing that makes French a little bit easier for British school children to learn. And overall, an amazing 70% of English words share their origin with French words. So even though the word is different, maybe they both come from Latin, they share the same etymological roots as the French words do. The overall aim of this lesson is to learn some new vocabulary, to think about pronunciation, and to find out a bit more about the English language. Let's look at some examples. Words that end in tion, they come from French, for example, information, attention, competition. The pronunciation is changed, but the spelling is the same. Words ending in ble, like table, adorable, comfortable, and terrible, also come from French, and other very well-known words like silence, important, venue, and restaurant. And just something I want to mention as we're beginning, make sure you're familiar with the difference between France and French. So France is the name of the country with an A, whereas French refers to the people, the things, and the language that comes from there and is spelt with an E. The first word I'm highlighting is fiancé. This means a man or a woman who is engaged to be married. They have agreed with their partner that they're going to get married, and now instead of saying this is my boyfriend or girlfriend, you would say this is my fiancé. Fiancé can be written with an accent over the E, like in the yellow box, or without. In France it would always be written with, but the English version we often miss it out. And interestingly with this word, there is a different version, a different spelling, if we're talking about a male or a female. So for a man, fiancé has one E at the end, whereas for a woman, fiancé is spelled with two E's at the end. So these are gender-specific nouns. A few more, we have television, or TV for short. Audible means something you can hear. A menu is a list of food in a restaurant. And there we have silhouette, which is the shape of something in shadow. Just a few words to get us started. A large amount of the French words that we use in English refer to food in some way or another. So let's start off with these ones. Restaurant, as we mentioned before, a French word. Chef is a professional cook, and because it comes from French, the CH is pronounced like a sh instead of a ch. Chef. In the top right we have a picnic. This is where you take some food outside and you eat in the park, and there's menu again. A cafe in English is a very small restaurant where you might have a hot drink and maybe a light meal. Champagne, the sparkling wine from the Champagne region of France. Cuisine is actually the French word for kitchen, but we use it to mean high quality food. And there we have buffet, which is where there is a selection of food and you can take what you want. All of these foods are very popular in the UK, but we always use the French word to describe it. For example, Gateau, that's a Black Forest Gateau. We use the French word gâteau to describe a large cake with several layers. We have an éclair, a choux pastry with cream inside and chocolate on top. Quiche is an egg dish served in a pastry case. And at the bottom there is omelette, an egg pancake folded over with fillings inside. The ETTE at the end of omelette is a giveaway that this is a French word. Maybe if you're out in town you'll go to the Patisserie, which is the French word for a bakery, although sometimes that word is used in English as well. Some things you might buy in the Patisserie include a soufflé, written with or without the accent over the E, pain au chocolat, and notice the word chocolat is the same as chocolate in English but without the E on the end. You might buy a baguette, which is a long thin bread loaf, maybe a croissant or a croissant, as some people would pronounce it. Macarons are very popular these days. Some people pronounce it macaroon. And there is a tarte au citron, or a lemon tart. Next we have 3 cream items. Crème brûlée, a hot dessert with a crunchy top. Crème fraîche, more of a savoury item, sometimes used as a dip. And there's a crème caramel, which is like a creamy jelly with a caramel sauce. And while we're talking about different creams, there is a French idiom that we use in English, crème de la crème. This means something is the best of the best, the absolute best, the very best. That really is the crème de la crème. It means it is the best possible. A few more food-related items. We have à la carte. Now, sometimes on a menu you will see à la carte. À la carte menu is where you can choose things from the list. So most menus are à la carte. It's the opposite of a set menu. Then we have soupe du jour, which means the soup of the day. So restaurants will often have a different kind of soup each day, which they would call the soupe du jour. Here we have café au lait, which is just the French name for coffee with milk. And before you start your meal, you might have an apéritif. This is something you'd have before your meal to whet your appetite. Some other French phrases to do with food include bon appétit, which you might say to someone before they start eating, which means have a good meal. There's also cordon bleu, which means blue ribbon, and is a sign of high quality food, as is the term gourmet. We might use this adjective to describe a high quality restaurant, for example, a gourmet restaurant. Now let's look at some jobs with French names. First we have an au pair, which is like a live-in nanny who looks after your children. Then we have entrepreneur, a word that means maybe an inventor or someone who starts their own business. Here is a chauffeur, which is a personal driver. In the middle is amateur, which actually means that the thing they're doing is not their actual job, it's not professional. For example, those children are amateur football players. And the bottom one is saboteur. Okay, that's not a job, but if someone wants to try and ruin your plans and destroy your ideas, they might be called a saboteur. Notice that many of them end with the EUR suffix here, and that's another sign that the word comes from French. Here's a French saying, c'est la vie. In other words, that's life. Oh well, these things happen, never mind, move on. It's when you accept something bad has happened, you can just say, c'est la vie. Some more French words that we use include bouquet, for a bunch of flowers. Entourage. This is a group of people who follow you around, and perhaps they're employed by you. Roulette is a game that you can play in a casino. Again, we see the ETTE ending here, showing it's from French. And the fourth one is adieu, which is a word meaning goodbye, so long, see you later. If you meet someone, you might have a rendezvous with them, or that can be used as a verb. You might say, let's rendezvous at 7 p.m. And on the right, the first one is RSVP, which in French stands for Répondez s'il vous plaît, which means please reply. If someone sends you an invitation, it might say at the bottom RSVP. So let us know if you're coming. Then we have en route, which means you are in the process of going somewhere, you're on your way. And if someone is going on a long trip, you might say to them bon voyage, which means have a good journey. A couple of events here now. We have a motor racing Grand Prix, We use this French word as the name of the race. And then we have Mardi Gras, which is a large colourful festival that's held in many places around the world. If you want to change your money into a different currency, you might go to the bureau de change. Even in the UK, we use the phrase bureau de change as the name of this service. Here we have première, meaning first. Début, which is also a kind of first. Encore means again. And critique is where someone gives you feedback on something you've done. Many people in suburban areas of a city live in a cul-de-sac. This is a dead-end street, so you can't drive through it, you just drive into it and then back out again. Again, the French pronunciation would be quite different to this, but in English we call it a cul-de-sac. And if your bedroom has a bathroom attached to it, this bathroom could be described as being ensuite. So it could be called the ensuite bathroom or even just the ensuite. Next we have brunette, which is a word used to describe someone with dark coloured hair. We have raconteur, which means someone who is good at telling stories. Then tête-à-tête, which means a head-to-head meeting or a face-to-face meeting with someone. And we use the word madame to mean a lady or a woman. This would be seen as quite a formal way to address someone. The next phrase is joie de vivre, which means the joy of life. You can see in the picture these people are just loving their lives. They are displaying joie de vivre. There's a phrase that we use in English which is deja vu. This kind of means like you feel like you've seen something before. It's a very strange feeling you have. Like you've already experienced this thing in your life, but you're sure you haven't. Like maybe you go somewhere you've never been before and you have a strange feeling that you have been there before. We call this deja vu. The French meaning is already seen. Next we have souvenir, which is a little gift that you bring back from somewhere you've been. Papier mâché or paper mâché, which is an arts and crafts technique popular in primary schools. Then we have potpourri, which is like dried leaves and fruits that smell nice and add a pleasant scent to your room. And eau de toilette, which is the name for perfume for men. Next we have cliche. Cliche is something like a stereotype, something predictable, usually something that's overused. Then we have collage, which means a group of pictures joined together. This AGE at the end, pronounced age, is another sign of French words. Next we have en masse, which means everyone all together. And debris is another word for rubbish. We also have ballet, which is a form of dancing very popular in France. Notice with a lot of these words that come from French, we don't pronounce the last letter. So the T in ballet is silent, just like the S in debris. And this is something that happens with a lot of words that we've taken from French. And finally, I want to mention the word genre. For example, music genres, different types of music. Genre is a very good word to know. It's very difficult to pronounce. So the G makes a J sound here. And that's a quick introduction to just some of the French words that we now use in English. There are many more words like this, and also from many other languages. English likes to take words from other languages, and French is certainly one of the most popular languages to do that from. I hope you found that video interesting. I hope you've learned some new words and also thought a bit about the pronunciation. Thanks for watching this video. There will be plenty more videos to come, so check out my channel, press the thumbs up. I will see you again next time on ESL Practice with Traveller's Guide. Goodbye.